Alrighty, here we go. We're going to talk about inequalities. So look down here at the bottom. Please look at this number line with only a 0 on it. Okay. This symbol right here matches, this end of the arrow matches a greater than symbol. And this arrow pointing down toward the lower numbers, toward the smaller numbers, matches the less than symbol. This is how I have always, or how I learned to remember it. And this is what finally got it to stick in my brain. Now, when you have an open circle, that means less than whatever that open circle's around, or greater than whatever that open circle's around. But if your circle is filled in, that means that it includes that number. So this means less than or equal to whatever number that's on, or greater than or equal to whatever number that's on. So make sure you know the difference between open and closed circles. So for example here, when we're solving an inequality, so I'm going to look at this first one here. We've got a negative 3x plus 6 greater than or equal to 12. I'm going to tell you, if there's a variable on one side and the number in front of it is negative, I know my inequality is going to have to switch. There is no other way to do it. So for example here, we subtracted 6 from each side. We got 3x greater than or equal to 6. We divided by a negative, which switched the inequality, and that's how we got x is less than or equal to negative 2. So that would be a closed circle at negative 2, and the arrow follows the direction that the inequality points, so less than goes left. Here, if you noticed, the number in front of the x was positive. That means there will be no switching. So when you solve it the same way, you get x greater than or equal to 2, which would go to the right, following the arrow. So make sure to look for those little hints so you know whether you're switching or not. If you divide or multiply by a negative, then you will switch the sign. Okay? All right, it says which is the solution to the following inequality. First thing I'm going to do is draw my line. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and solve these. You cannot put these in Desmos, so please don't try. You can use Desmos for your math, that's for sure, but you cannot use Desmos the way we did for equations. So I'm going to put in negative 4.6, and I am going to add 1, which gives me a negative 3.6. See the number in front of that x is a negative number? That means we're going to have to do a switch. So x is no longer less than, it's now greater than. And then I'm going to jump down here and I'm going to say negative 3.6 divided by a negative 3 gives me a positive 1.2. So x is greater than 1.2. My answer is right there. Okay, if you need to watch me do that again, rewind and slow it down. All right, here I've got parentheses in here, and it wants me to solve it and graph it on a number line, which makes it a lot easier to actually find solutions. So let's start by distributing. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Negative 2 times positive 50 is negative 100. Please use your calculator for all of your math, just because you don't want to make a simple mistake cost you, points on an SOL. So I'm even going to put it in here just to make sure that I'm doing this right. Negative 100, yes. So next I'm going to draw my line. And the first thing I'm going to do is add 100 to each side. Bring down my negative 2x. Bring down my greater than or equal to. And that, of course, is 116. Again, use your calculator. Don't make silly mistakes. Then I'm going to divide by a negative. So that should set the alarm bells ringing. X, instead of greater than or equal to, it's less than or equal to. And then I'm actually going to put this in the calculator. 116 divided by a negative 2 makes for negative 58. Now, we wanted to graph this on a number line. So I'm going to come up here at the top, and I'm going to make a very strange number line. My answer is negative 58, or at least that's part of it. This said x is less than or equal to negative 58. Well, I'm going to get a highlighter so you can see what I have to do to graph that. Hold on just a second. All right. Since this is less than or equal to, that means I need a closed circle at negative 58, and then my shading goes towards smaller numbers because it matches that. So that's how you would graph it. So any number down here where the shading is would be a solution to this question. Anything up here where there is no shading would not be a solution. Now let's see about this one. Let's see what we can do here. I'm going to turn this back into a pen. And it says, see which value of P satisfies the inequality below. This is important. What satisfies it? We're not looking for the number that we end up with at the end. We're looking for which of these numbers actually make it true. So let's start by solving. We're going to have to distribute. Negative 8 times P is negative 8P. Negative 8 times positive 2 is negative 16, less than negative 56. So the first thing we have to do is add 16 to each side, and we get negative 8P less than, and again, I don't want anybody to make a mistake, so negative 56 plus 16 gives you negative 40. We're going to divide by negative. There are those alarms again saying you're going to have to flip. So P, that less than, is now a greater than. And I'm going to keep trying to use my calculator so I can encourage you to do it. Negative 40 divided by negative 8 is 5. Now I want you to think about this. P is greater than 5. So you'd have to graph it. You can make a number line. This could be 0. This could be 5. It is an open circle because it's not equal to, and then it would go this way, the way the inequality goes. So let's see. Is 0 in that shaded part? It is not. Is 4 in that shaded part? Nope. Is 5 in that shaded part? It is not, because it's not equal to. So 7 is the only thing that satisfies that inequality. So be super careful with these. I hate for you to do all this work, get P greater than 5, and then choose 5. But since it's not equal to, it is not part of the solution. Okay, let's see if we have another one. We do. Alrighty, this one gets a little crazy because we've got an x, or a variable, on both sides, and we have two variables over here, so we're going to have to put some things together before we even start solving. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is say, alright, I've got a positive 6x here and a negative 13x. So in my calculator, I'm going to take 6 minus 13, and I'm going to get a negative 7x minus 11 is less than 7 minus 5x. All right, now we have to move this variable over here to the other side because we need all of our variables on the left. So the opposite of negative 5x is adding positive 5x, because when you're moving a variable, you have to move the whole thing. You have to do the opposite of what it is. So I'm going to come back over here, and I'm going to do negative 7 plus 5, and that gives me a negative 2x minus 11 less than 7. Then I have to add 11 on each side. So I get a negative 2x less than 11 and 7 is 18. Please use your calculator. Oh boy, here we go again. Dividing by a negative. All of the alarms should be going off. when you divide by a negative. So you get x, the inequality flips, and 18 divided by negative 2 is negative 9. I'll even put that in the calculator. 18 divided by negative 2 is negative 9. So your solution here is x greater than negative 9. All right, let's see if we've got another one. We might. There we go. This says to solve, graph, and identify each solution. So we've got a lot to do here. So let's get busy. So first things first. All righty. We are going to move that 4. So negative 6 and negative 4. Again, please use your calculator just to double check. That's what I'm doing. So negative 10 is less than or equal to negative 2x, and the plus 4 and the minus 4, that went away. So that's all I've got left. So now I'm going to have to divide by a negative on both sides. When I'm dividing, the bells go off. Of course, we're going to have to do some flipping. First, let's do the math. Negative 10 divided by a negative 2 is 5. We divided by a negative, so we have to flip this over, and then we're going to get x. Now, so we have solved it, but now we have to graph it. When we graph, that variable needs to be on the left side. So if I move the variable here, and I move the 5 here, that means I have to flip my inequality again. When you flip the variable from one side to the other, that automatically means that you have to flip the inequality. Okay, so we've got that, but now we're going to graph it. So let me see if I can come up with a good looking graph here. Here's 0 and here's 5. And I'm going to go ahead and get a highlighter. Now that says x is less than or equal to. So if it's equal to, I'm going to put a closed circle at the 5. Then I have to go toward smaller numbers because that matches this right here. This says my answers are less than or equal to 5. So that's what this says. My answers, where it's highlighted, are less than or equal to 5. So now we have to identify each solution. So I'm going to go back and get my pen again. We're going to look at each one. Negative 2. Where is negative 2 on this graph? It's right down here. So that's that means it's definitely an answer. 0 is definitely highlighted. 3 is definitely highlighted. 4 is also highlighted. If they had asked about 5, 5 is an answer because it's highlighted. But is 6 highlighted? Nope. 7? Nope. 10? Nope. So that's how you would do that, just step by step. And I suggest whenever you're picking solutions that you always graph your answer because it makes it a lot easier to tell what a solution is and what is not. Okay? Have a great day.